Hello and welcome to A Moment in Time with Nex. If your brain is hungry, I hope this helps. The most recent book that I read was this one, Flow, The Psychology of Optimal Experience. And this is a bit of an older book. I believe it's from the 90s. And there's been a lot more amazing research that has been done since this book came out, but it's one that I've always wanted to read. So I know I'm a little slow to getting around to it, but I loved it. I would consider this at least a 4-star book, if not a 5-star. I really enjoyed how I love when I can read a book and then immediately put the information in the book into use, practical use in my life. So that has been happening for me in a major way since reading this book, and it just came at such a perfect time in my life. But that's the personal, that's all about me. So let's talk about what the book is about generally for anyone and how you can use it so that it can start impacting your life without you having to even take the time to read the book. That's what I like to do. I read so that you don't have to. I love to read. I enjoy absorbing new information and then kind of boiling it down and giving you the highlights and the most important pieces of the information to take away from it. So thanks for being here. So the way he refers to this is the psychology of optimal experience. And what this means is really the difference between pleasure and enjoyment. For instance, eating food. It brings us pleasure because it satisfies a physical need, a biological need that we have. But enjoying your food is a different experience. It's not just the sheer pleasure of taste and satiation. Instead, it's something more. And what they learned in studying these different experiences of enjoyment or optimal experience, they found that you have to be focused on the thing that you are doing or experiencing. You have to be focused. You have to have that psychic mental energy focused and concentrated onto one thing. If you're watching TV while you eat, you're not really able to enjoy your food. You have to be focused on it, really enjoying the flavors and the experience of the food. I actually recently put jalapenos on burgers the other night for the first time in my life, and it changed my life. It's amazing. It's so good. And if you haven't tried it, I encourage you to. But I was sitting there and having this experience, and I had just finished reading this book a few days before, and I was thinking about how much I was really truly enjoying my food. I was sitting at the dining room table alone, not looking at my phone, no music on, no TV on, just fully enjoying my food, and it was a great experience. So they call that mindful eating. I encourage you to try that. That's really what this book is all about. Mindfulness. They don't refer to it in so many words, but I think present moment awareness and meditation are the #1 ways to increase your enjoyment of your life, because it teaches you to be able to control and bring order to your consciousness, which, as he talks about in this book, is always tending towards chaos because of the laws of entropy. Everything in the world is kind of moving towards chaos, and when we can bring order and structure out of this chaos, that gives us this kind of illusion of control. It gives us a real sense of satisfaction and enjoyment. So there are a few different things that they notice when people are in this, what they call this flow state of optimal enjoyment and experience. There's a couple things that you can use to tell if you're having an experience like that or something you might notice after coming out of the experience. One is your sense of time. It's altered. So time might go really fast. They say time flies when you're having fun. This would say time flies when you're in flow. Or it can go really, really slow. So I do some self-defense classes, and when I'm doing some of the workouts in those classes, it can feel like we have just been going for, half an hour, and it's been 10 to 15 minutes. So when you're fully focused on something, you're fully concentrated on something, it can warp your perception and your experience of time, which is a pretty cool way to shift around your consciousness, something that humans do with a lot of different strategies, by flow experiences, by using drugs. Some flow experiences are going to happen during exercise, during working out, during competitions, playing games. One thing I thought was interesting from this book they talk about, so they basically hooked people up with pagers, and they would beep the pagers every random interval. I think it was 8 times a day at random intervals, and they would ask them how they were feeling, what they were doing, and they took these little questionnaires, and I think it was the same questions every time. It's kind of like a check-in 8 times throughout the day. And what they found is that people had the most enjoyment while they were at work, while they were working, while they were challenged, while they needed to use their skills. And what they found is that in order to get into these flow states, you really do have to be challenged, ideally to your optimal level, to your skill level. So if you are watching the video of this, I'm going to hold up the graph from the book. If you have the book, it's page 74. Not sure if it's focusing there. So you can see on the x-axis, you have your skill level, and on the y-axis, you have the level of challenge. So this flow channel, this flow zone here, the flow zone, is where there's this perfect match between the level of challenge and your skills. And below that level, you're bored, and above that level, you're anxious. And you can see A1 through A4, which are basically the different stages that we go through as we're learning according to this book. But I won't get too much into that, particularly just kind of remembering that if you want to enjoy things more, if you want to have more flow experiences, sometimes you're going to need to increase the challenge level of what you're doing. Watching TV, not super challenging, doesn't require any skills. It's totally passive. You can still watch TV, but just think about how much you're really enjoying it. Because like I said, they did these pagers, they asked people what they were doing, how they felt, if they felt satisfied and challenged, if they were enjoying what they're doing, and they found that people enjoyed work the most. And it's this weird paradox where we enjoy our work more than anything else in our lives. We're more likely to go into flow experiences while we're working. But we desire, many of us, not myself included, desire more leisure time and less time working. Why is that? And how can we increase the challenge level of our leisure time to increase the amount of enjoyment we have during those times? What can you do that's actually going to challenge you, but still be enjoyable, still be fun, still be leisure? Maybe it's making music or doing some kind of exercise, some kind of movement like yoga, something that's a little bit more challenging than sitting on the couch and watching TV. Because what happens a lot of times when we do these types of passive activities that don't challenge us or require any skills, we end up feeling like we wasted our time. And that's not a good feeling. It's the opposite of a flow experience. So stop wasting your time. That's really what the major takeaway was for me with this book, is to prioritize the important things and to increase the challenge level in my leisure time and in my leisure activities. Focus on bringing order to consciousness, moving away from entropy, moving away from chaos. What's going to order your consciousness? What's going to help you focus and help you concentrate? Of course, as I always recommend, daily meditation. It can change your life. People who have control of their consciousness and can create order in their consciousness, namely through meditation and focus and concentration, it's going to help with things like memory and so many other things. You can research meditation if you don't know the benefits already. But the people who have control of this enjoy their lives more. And chances are it's because a lot of times you can be more clear on what it is that's important, what's going on with you, and you can adapt and modify so your life is going to be more in alignment with the life that you want. Sure, we're always going to have goals and more things that we want to do, but if we're moving in the right direction, if we feel like we have a goal in mind and a future orientation, we're probably going to feel a lot better about the things that we're doing than if we're just going through the motions. we're just kind of letting life happen to us. We're letting life happen to our minds. We're letting our minds just go around roaming kind of ceaselessly, having trouble sleeping, having trouble focusing, and not saying that you don't have enough time to meditate for 15 minutes, but you have hours to watch TV and play games and toss and turn in bed. Come on. 15 minutes a day. You could be meditating, you could be changing your life, you could be moving in the direction that you want to be moving. You could figure out what direction you want to go in and start moving in that direction. So personally, I have a lot more information about meditation. I even have a meditation program. If you're interested in that, maybe I'll put the link in the description. But this book really wasn't about meditation. It was just something that for me, who's been meditating now for nearly a decade, it just was so obvious to me that it was a huge advantage, the people who meditate over the people who don't, in order to be able to focus and concentrate that psychic energy and that mental energy. Oh, another thing that you want these activities to involve, besides having some level of challenge and requiring skills, is that there needs to be some type of goal system. There has to be, you have to know what you're trying to accomplish from this activity, and then feedback systems. So say you're painting a picture. You have an idea of what you want to create or what kind of experience you want to have while creating this art. And as you go, each brush stroke or each pencil line, you can get you can kind of gauge if you're moving in the direction you want to move or not. Are you moving toward the type of outcome that you wanted, yes or no? And you can adjust and modify as you go. And that's a huge piece of being able to go into a flow state, being able to get feedback, being focused, having your energy concentrated, and having goals. The last thing I found really interesting about this book and this author who actually coined this term, which I didn't realize until after reading the book, is autotelic. An autotelic experience. He also talks about autotelic personalities, autotelic jobs, which is a really kind of amazing idea if you are an entrepreneur or a business owner or a manager, to try to design the work that you have for your teams and your people, design them to be autotelic. So autotelia is basically the idea of something being an end in and of itself. So as much as possible, we are looking for kind of intrinsic motivation. Like, we just want to do it. It's like we just want to have achieved this thing to say that we did it. Maybe like climbing a mountain or breaking some type of record or lifting a certain amount of weight, whatever it is for you. We just want to do it. It's not because it's going to make us famous. It's not because it's going to make us look a certain way. It's not because it's going to make us a certain amount of money. It's something that we just want to be able to do. So finding experiences like that, trying to build our personalities to be this way, kind of looking to do things for the sake of doing them. And I like how this kind of aligns with the philosophy that I like to study of objectivism with Ayn Rand, and how her argument is that man is an end in and of himself. Mankind, right? So whatever gender you go by, that's the kind of term that she uses, is that people are ends in and of themselves. They don't need to be defined by external things. They simply are. It's like it doesn't really matter so much what you are doing, what you look like, you know, all these kind of other things. It's all that matters is that you exist, that you live. That's kind of the most amazing thing about you. And how do you want to live? What kind of life do you want to live? What kind of experience do you want to have? And how many flow experiences do you want to have in your life? How often do you want to have this altered sense of time? And one thing I forgot to mention earlier is that you have a loss of self-consciousness as well. So it's not that you lose awareness of yourself, but you lose the idea of what other people are going to think. You stop worrying about how you come out to the world, how you come across to other people. Instead, you're just worried about the task at hand. You're focused on that. And what ends up happening is after that, you actually have a stronger sense of self, and you've actually really developed yourself. You've learned something new about yourself. Maybe you've developed a new skill set or gone to a new level and advanced and evolved beyond something you've ever been able to do before. And so you'll likely have a greater sense of self-esteem and self-confidence after that, and experience less self-consciousness just in life in general. Thank you for watching. If you liked this video, please subscribe or follow or whatever it's called wherever you're seeing this, and stay tuned for future content. If you have ideas of other things you'd like to hear me talk about, go ahead and leave it in the comments, or you can reach out to me on social media, or if there's anything you'd like to say about this book in particular, I'd love to hear from you. Until next time, this has been A Moment in Time with Nex.